Let's bring in Rosalind Helderman. She's a political investigations reporter for The Washington Post, and she joins us now from D.C. And Rosalind, there is a lot to parse through in these indictments. We've been doing it for the last hour or so, just as you have. What stands out to you about the Manafort and the Gates charges?
So the Manafort and the Gates charges are striking in their breadth. This is really a sweeping indictment against the two of them for money laundering, for false statements, for working for Ukrainian interests as unregistered foreign agents. Mueller really brought the hammer down on the two of them. Now, as President Trump noted, it's all for work they did and things they did prior to joining the Trump campaign and aren't related to the campaign. But these charges have to come sort of as a stunning blow to the two of them. And I would imagine if they have any information at all that they could use to share about the campaign and what happened in the campaign as part of some kind of agreement to lessen these charges, they're going to be highly interested in doing so.
And now we have another person who was pretty close to the Trump campaign, George Papadopolous, 30-year-old. He served as a policy advisor, a foreign policy advisor, who pled guilty to lying to the FBI, essentially. What do you make of that?
Yeah, in some ways that development is more surprising and in some ways more interesting, even though he's a lesser known figure, because unlike what the president tweeted this morning, that does have to do with the campaign. He pled guilty to lying to federal agents about his contacts with the Russian government. Basically, he acknowledges that he was in touch with a Russian professor and a woman who he was told was Vladimir Putin's niece during the campaign months, and he was told at one point in time by this professor that the Russian government had dirt about Hillary Clinton and in fact had thousands of her emails. He was told this in April of 2016 after he had joined the Trump campaign and well before that was public knowledge.
And his lie was that he said that those interactions happened prior to him becoming part of the Trump campaign.
Yeah, that's right. And he also told the FBI in January that he believed the professor was sort of a low-level person, but in fact there's evidence that apparently he did know that the professor had significant government ties in Russia.
So, Rosalind, I was looking through, I read your article this morning in the Washington Post, and what's interesting is, as you've pointed out, and the president himself has tweeted, that these, at least according to the indictment, happened before Mr. Manafort joined the campaign. And yet, Robert Mueller and his investigators have also focused on folks that are very close to the president, still including the president's son-in-law, Jared Kushner. What does that tell you?
Well, I mean, the events involving Paul Manafort and Rick Gates happened before they joined the campaign. This George Papadopolous indictment, or his plea agreement, all involves things that happened during the campaign and with Russian officials. I mean, it's going to be very hard for President Trump to continue to maintain that nothing happened today that had to do with either Russia or his campaign.
Yeah,
George
because,
Papadopolous,
and the reason I want to hone in on that, Rosalind, and your reporting is Mr. Trump has denied any collusion, and yet people close to him and to his campaign also deny that they had any contacts with any Russians throughout the campaign. And through the reporting that you and others have done, we found out that that's not true.
Over and over and over again.
That's right. In fact, we wrote a story in August about emails that this man, George Papadopolous, was sending to senior campaign aides for months, trying to get the campaign to have a meeting with Russian officials. This was a theme of his. Behind the scenes, he was really pushing it. We know from our own reporting that at least some of his requests were rebuffed by people like Paul Manafort. But according to his plea agreement, at one point in time, he told campaign officials about his contacts with Russians, and someone, it's not identified in the indictment, but someone wrote back to him in an email, "Great work."